Have you ever felt like Odoo was answering others' needs but not yours? That if you could, you would create your own application, but if you knew how to code, well, stay with me because you're at the right place. I'm Pierre Quenen, business analyst at Odoo, and I can't code either. Yet, together, we will see how we can, using Studio, create an app from scratch. An application for your businesses and your needs. So I will give you one use case with some expectations. We'll see what we can do, and then we will dive into a demo for that use case. So here it is. Imagine you are in a community of cooperators, and you have the same ecological values. Together, you own a piece of land in the city center, and you would like to create a shared biogarden. So you want to grow plants in the same place. You want to share information between cooperators and interact with customers. Knowing that, you want the perfect online tool that will follow the growth and treatments of plants, manage the harvests by the cooperators, and help you centralize information and make it available to the whole city. After some analysis, you see there is no modules or application that can do that. But why not try Studio? Let's go into my database and already toggle Studio. By doing so here, I can create my new app. So welcome to the Studio. Thank you, Fabien. I will choose a name for my app. So here, let's call it Garden. And I'm not managing diamonds. Here, I want a picture like the following one. Now, Odoo will ask me what I want to manage. And in this case, as we said in the expectations, we want to manage plants. So that's a whole new model. Here we go. I can have some features at the very beginning, like pipeline stages to have some overview during the time of the different plants, a picture of my crops because I'm pretty proud of them. Some notes is always great. User assignments because we want people to be responsible of their plant. Gantt chart can be useful because I have an idea of some harvest time, but we'll see just after that. And yeah, that's it. We can create your app. So as soon as I'm creating my app, I will get into the Studio interface. So here you see you can, on the left, you can add new fields. You already see the fields you have at the very beginning. Let's already populate it a bit more because that's a canvas for all the plants. So the first one is, okay, this date, we want it for the harvest time. Harvest time, perfect. And the responsible, okay, responsible is the good name, but it's not because we are a cooperative that we are not responsible. So this field is mandatory. We want for every plant to have one responsible. Easy. I can just add the properties for that field that it is mandatory. I also want to know from where the seeds come from, so what countries, and when the plants were planted. So let's start with the plantation date. I have a field type, which is date. Why make it hard when it's easy? So it's not new date. Let's change the label to plantation date. Perfect. Now we want the country. Okay, let's take some time. And as you may know, the countries is a standard field, is a standard model, because in Odoo you have a lot of things that are common between all the databases, and the country is one of them. So I just have to link my new model to the country model that already exists. To do so, I'm using a many-to-one field because many plants can come from the same country. So let's do the relation to country. If I know how to write country, country, here it is. We confirm. Let's just change the label country of origin because this will adapt my technical name. So it's a little more good practice. And then I know also that I have some existing field. Okay, what are the existing fields? There are a lot of them. Here I see I have the color. I'm trying to do something very user-friendly with lots of color. Let's add this field to use it later on. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. Let's not use an integer for the color, but actually I have a widget that let me pick the color I want for every plant. Okay, this is good for that. Sounds good for me. I have enough information for every plant. I can close Studio. So here you see what I can do in the form view for one plant. And if I want to see more plants, I can come in the Kanban view, for example. Here the stages are business stages. Here it's not the idea. So let's edit the stage. First one is when my plants are in pot. Let's save it. Then when they're actually planted in my garden. So now it would be, well, planted. And the last one is when I harvested my plants and I can give them to customer, exchange them, sell them, whatever you want. So let's call this last stage harvested. Perfect. I created my application, my first plant model. I can start to create actual plants. My first one, let's call it, that's a new tomato plant I just received. I took a picture of it this morning. Here it is. And you see, okay, it's a little bit small here. So let's change that. So if okay. That's great. I tried to save without a responsible, and we don't want that. So let's add a responsible. Here, you guessed it. That's tomato. Don't blame me on that one, please. And now that we did that, we can save and go back to Studio, change the size of our picture. So let's make it medium. Okay, now you see my beautiful tomatoes, almost ripe. Let's populate with the other fields. So the plantation date was today. Let's put the color red and harvest time. With the time we have right now, I believe we can start from July and almost plant until October. Pretty sad if you ask me. Country of origin, not too far away, France. And yeah, that's it. I can save and say it's planted. So now, if I go into my Kanban view, I have my first plant. I have others that are already prepared, but I will not do them by hand. Let's just import them pretty easily to see what it can look like in the futures when everybody brings their own plants. You see beautiful plants. Everybody's pretty proud of them. You can see different responsible for all of them. If I go on one, I can see the harvest time of all of them. But what if I want to see the harvest time of all the plants? Because I'm a newbie, I don't know what I can harvest at what time. So let's change a view for this for the plants. So I do have the Gantt view here. Not pretty neat. I want a specific menu just for that. We dive into Studio and we will edit the menu. The new menu will be my harvest time now. So here it is, and it's not a new model. I'm using the plant model, so just click on existing model and select my plants. All right, I confirm. Where is it? Okay, let's put it just next to the plants. Same level, confirm. And so now my harvest time. If I click on it, I will see what it looks like. So now I haven't changed anything from my view. Let's do that into my view option. So I want only the Gantt view. So let's set the Gantt view as default, and we can disable all the other views. Here we go. So I can see what it looks like now. Not perfect. You see, I just see the months of September. So let's put a default scale that's yearly based. So now I can see all the harvest time during 1 year. And now I had my colors that you remember I put them at the beginning. Yeah, let's use that. Perfect. Now I have a color. It's pretty clear. If I'm a newbie, I can see what plants I can plant at what time and when to harvest them. So that's great. All right. So that's it for my view. Now I want to go back onto my plants, and I have an issue. One of the cooperators told me there is a lot of responsible that actually forget the plants at some point and don't collect them when they are ripe. So what I could do is just say that, okay, let's say that if I select this, it becomes a priority plant. which would mean that you should collect it. So I'm going to also add the same field I have here on my form view, so it's very clear for the different user. It's an existing field, not a new one. It's called high priority. I will put it just under the country of origin, change the label to ripe. Okay, let's do that. So now I will see that, for example, let's close Studio. For example, if I'm selecting my strawberry plant, I'm saying it's ripe, and I save, then it goes to the top. So already it's more clear what we should collect at some point. We can go a bit further. I can even notify every responsible when actually someone said that their plant is ripe. How to do so? Just with an automated action. I know this is standard, but in Studio it's very easy to do because you have it here, you're on the right model immediately, and the same here, the model is already selected. Let's call our action notification to harvest. All right, we will create an activity when we trigger this. When we trigger this action, we want to create an activity. The trigger is on the field when I have a change on the field ripe. And the change is when once I save, this field must be checked. So let's say apply on. Let's find our field ripe. Ripe, here we are. And say it must be true. If I save, I have my trigger, and now I can define the activity. The activity will be a to-do with some summary, time to harvest. Because we don't want no waste. Who am I responsible? It's not the same specific user all the time. It's one from the record. So it's actually user ID, the responsible, but here it's a new one that I created myself. So I just have to add Xstudio before. And okay, here it is. I dezoom, sorry. Okay. I can save. I can close. And let's try how it works. So my beetroot, they are also ripe. I want to notify tomato that he should harvest them. So let me edit, select ripe, save, and boom, you see in the chatter that today Tom should has a message in his email address saying time to harvest, we don't want to waste. Okay, that's great. We already had a new model created. We changed the views, we did some automated action, we populated every plant with new fields. We already did all that. What could I do next? I know, I have one of the cooperators that's actually has a lot of knowledge on treatments, and I want him to share this knowledge. So why not share it in our database? I have nothing for treatment yet, so I will go to Studio and create a new model just for that. I create my new model called treatments. Since I'm creating a new model, Odoo give me the features I can do. I'm just gonna add some line because the treatment is like kind of like a recipe, so I can just add some line to explain how to do it. And if I close, let me refresh so I can close. I go in my treatments, I can create a new one, and the first one could be weed control solution. How do you do it? You just need 1 cup of vinegar. You need 1 gallon of boiling water and a tablespoon of salt. Perfect. So now everybody in the database can see how Tomato or our friend Barry or my bro Collie did to create his own solution. I can save. Let's create a new one called pest control potion. And lastly, the last one is fungal disease solution. Now I have some treatments. That's great, but they are not linked to my plants. So I want that each plant can get several treatments, but also that one treatment can go to several plants. So I want to link many treatments to many plants. How do I do that? I go on my plants, I toggle studio, and I will just add a many-to-many field, so a relational field. Let's put it here, and we do the relation from plants to treatments. All right, here it is. We confirm, and let's call it treatments received. We do that because it's important to change the label, to change the technical name automatically. You see, Odoo will adapt if I change the label. So good practice. And here I don't like the list view. I just need the name. So let's change the widget as well and use the tag widget. Perfect. I close. I can edit my carrots and give them some treatments. So these carrots, you see how nice they are. They got all the treatments. I can save. I can say my strawberry here only got the pest control potion. Now, if I'm one of the cooperator, I'm doing some fungal disease potion thanks to my friend that gave me the recipe, and I want to put it on all the plants that didn't receive it yet. So I could play with filters, group by favorites, but I'm not so used to to Odoo, so I will help you with that. I can go into Studio and modify my research bar, so it will be easier for your cooperators to research on any fields you created for this specific model. So here, let's find my treatments received. I will just drag and drop it here. And if I close, that means that if I group by treatments received, I will see which plants received which treatments. I can, for example, sit in this view, so it's pretty clear. Those products didn't receive any treatments. And I was doing the pest control potion, so once it's done, I shouldn't put it on my strawberry or my current plants. So that's great. Perfect. Now you saw it was like, it has been 15 minutes. I created a new application. I created several models, at least 2 of them. I did linked between each others, linked to other model in the database, standard one. I populated my model with new fields, so I have a very clear view or I can grow and treat my plants. I have some overview in the time because I have my several stages. All of that in 15 minutes. Now I can also just use Odoo on a daily basis, send message to client, log note to talk to my own cooperators. All of that was easy for my businesses. My needs are answered. So yeah, that's it. Now you saw how I could do an application to answer my needs. Now you can do it for any of your businesses. Why not dare to do it? Use Odoo Studio and create your own application. Thank you very much. You have the basic access rights that you can use. And also with the new application, it's actually the same. I think I can quickly show it. If I have a database open, yeah. So here, I can just go into the access rights. So it's like any other model. And I can see my, my plant field as well. So yeah, so here I see that the internal user, any user can read, write, create records in my model plant. They cannot just delete one, so that's for the administration. And if you want to manage who goes into the application, you just edit the menu. So you see menu items, and I can find my garden. Yeah, and here you can specify the access right here with just adding a specific group that could access the new application.
Very clear. Another question about access right was, is it possible to manage who can see maybe one field with this with Studio?
So just for one field in the application?
Yeah, depending on the user.
Yeah. So let me show it straight away. It's always more nice when you see it in action. What you have in Studio is that now I just talked about the access right for the whole model, the whole plant. If you want to only see one field in the new model, you can click on the field, and in the properties you have the limit visibility to groups. So there you can specify that for this field, only these groups can see it.
Perfect. So it's possible. Amazing. One question about the whole application. What if we want to remove something or delete? Is there any impact or any ways to make it in a clean way?
So here you see, I'm still here, you have the remove view. So this will remove it from the view. I can do it, for example, for my color field. If I remove it from the view, let me take one that's not too relevant either. I can remove it from the view, and this just removes it from this view. So it's still existing in the database. If I want to delete it, I have to go in the fields model, and from there I can delete stuff. It's not always that easy. You cannot always do it for any model. So same as for the first question, it's better to do all your tries on the test database, and then when you're sure about all the models, all the fields, then you do it on your production database.
Okay, good. Another interesting question here. How compatible is it to have some studio customization and development? What did you advise about that?
What I would say is that when you go to the development way, you will love to develop and you won't use Studio as much. Studio is very easy for a functional consultant like myself, so you can easily show to the client quick add-ons, and it's very fast for them to see the results. And doing some developments, well, we try to challenge the customer as much for that, because it's always easier to set standard, and Studio is very sustainable between the different upgrades. So I would say if you can, and if it's easy, and if the client has it, go for Studio, if you know what you're doing, because with great power come great responsibilities. And then at some point there is limitation in Studio. If you want to do very big process, sometimes one line of code will do the work way better than a lot of configuration, customization in Odoo Studio.
Okay, something else about adding Python code in Studio. Is it possible to, within the application, combine both?
I don't think you can add Python code from the Odoo Studio application. You can do it in the automation. So in the automation, you have the possibility to do some pattern expression here when I create a new one. So you have the possibility to execute Python code as well. And the other thing you can, okay, let me discard this or create any field. Okay, let's take my wrap field so I can remove from here. You can also change the XML. So from Python code, it's not the easiest way with except the automation, but from here in the view, when you're in debug mode, you have access to the whole XML view. So you really see when you're actually putting fields, Odoo helps you build small blocks of codes that are gonna be next to each other, and from there you really see what happens in your view next to it.
Okay, and if I understand correctly what you just said before, if we want to go for Python, we should do development. That would be better.
Yeah, always go for development, and there when you have a lot of development, better to go on SH as well.
Good. Another question about wizards. Is it possible to do them with Studio?
To do wizard with Studio?
The pop-up and so on?
That's a good question. I don't recall you have the wizard button, but I don't know if I know by heart where it is. I think if you have some button, I think there is, but I don't recall how you do it. But I remember I did it once, because every time someone would validate the sale order on Runbot, I would have a pop-up to my coach saying congratulations with a beautiful picture of her. So you can do it, but I wouldn't be able to show it right away.
Probably not the easiest way to do it with Studio, so maybe here we have a thin line between Studio and
to know the limits and possibilities, for sure.
Good. One last question before we run out of time. Regarding import, is it more complicated to import data in custom app that you created with Studio compared to the standard ones?
I wouldn't say it's more complicated to import data in any new application. I just did it, and might be one of the first time I do an import and there is any issue, it goes straight ahead. But you can easily, it's like any other model, you can import anything you want on the application. You just have to know the right fields, their technical name, and once you do that, you create your model, your template for in Excel, and you can import easily.
Perfect. Thank you again for all the answer and the amazing talk.
Thank you, Antoine.